Hello! Today I'm going to be showing you the AIs I've made for my game. So, on that, let's just real quick show you them in viewer. Oh god, why are you zooming so much, man? So, we got 3 AIs. This one's really special. I'll explain why it is in a sec. This one uses nav meshes, and then this one doesn't. Pathetic. And this is what the nav mesh looks like. And in case you were wondering, yes, it does go all in this void for nothing. And yeah, that looks weird. But we've got 3 NPCs, and they're all just floating heads of the player's head as well, taken from the dead body itself. Oh, and this thing fully works now. In case you were wondering, I'm not sure if I made an update about it or not, but its physics fully works, so it should rip itself apart, and that should work. So with that, let's show you the NPCs. As you can see, it fully blew up. Let's show you the nav mesh one first. As you can see, he's not walking directly towards us like a pleb not using a nav mesh would. Instead, he walks around and tries to find us. Well, not tries to find us, he walks around to get to us, and then he comes to smush us into the wall. Oh, we're getting smushed. We're now smushed. Help me, I'm smushed. But that's him. We also have another NPC. Where are you? There you are. He just tries to walk directly at us. He doesn't do anything. He just walks directly at us. That's all he does. And then we're gonna get smushed again. Well, he will crush you if you're on this other side of the wall with him, but beyond that, he's a pretty lame NPC, to be fair. It's not his fault, he was made that way. Some of them are always made with birth defects. Sorry, that's a dark joke. I'm a very dark humoured person. And then we have the last one now. He's really special now. Let's just show you how special he is by moving this out of the way for a sec. So, first he will try and search for the player. And no, we're not going to make it easy for him. And then he has a really frantic search where he just searches a long area. As you can see, he is searching very far. And it will gradually ramp up to that. He'll go from a normal search area to a really large search area. And right now he's just searching all the way out here. He's covering all this area. It's not because the player's now, is it? No, he just wants to go in this direction. But apart from having more than one behavioral state like the other NPCs, because that's what's it called, finite state machine behavior, he can also do different things that go beyond finite state behavior. He can plan. So his planning is pretty simple. It's like goal-oriented action planning, but simpler, to put it essentially. So we got him right now. He's running away because he's got no ammo. And then we can fire at him a bit. His health is at 90. He's going again. Come here. Face me! Face me! Oh, and in case you're wondering, he can't do any damage to us because his weapon is this weapon. He has the same weapon as that. In fact, if we go to this one, yeah, as you can see, same weapon. Which because the fact that we made it so that player weapons can't damage the player and player weapon types can't damage the player, he's basically, that firing he's doing, it's basically just for show. It's basically to let us know that, hey, he wants to attack us, but he can't actually attack us. Where's he gone? There he is. There's my pal. So, come here, come here, come here, face me. So another thing he will do is he will then try and circle or float around the player when his health is below 70. Like that. And nothing happens when his health is on 0. He is like the player before I added death condition to the player, so he can't die. He just stays alive forever. But he thinks he can die, and that's what counts when it comes to AIs. If they can think they died, then they're good enough. And yeah, this does use goal-oriented action planning, like I said. So here we have the NPC itself. It's pretty basic. I don't mind showing you the code for this because most of this is not code that I would imagine one would copy. And if you do, no, not half. All of this is not going to work because that's a function you won't have. This might work if you got a health control thing that has a function called get health. But none of this will. So, yeah. And then we have here the different types of goals it can have. And then all the actions that are available for those goals. And then this, which pretty much just dictates how it can plan those actions. And it also dictates if it should switch to a different plan that might have another action it wants. So for example, if it's really low on ammo in the battle plan, or in the action battle, and it's really low on ammo, it can switch to this plan, and then it can switch to that state. And effectively, with this behavior, we can also have more than one plan running at any given time. All that. Also, actions can be formulated in one of two different ways, and by that I mean in this, I've hidden most of this away in advance. We got formulate current action. This is what the AI should do, basically. It tries to find out which behavior the AI should do. And it can formulate that action based on cost, which is the best available action, and that's how most goal-oriented action planning AIs work. They do it on cost, but they can also do it in a list where one item has to be done before the other item, and then the next item has to be done after that. Which is great for some things, such as, let's go back to our dummy NPC, this. We wanted to start off finding the player in a small radius, and then in a middle radius, and then in a large radius. Also, I'm not hiding the code for this, it's all just empty functions pretty much. There's this, release action. Now, if all actions are released in a plan, that plan will also release. And what release action does is it basically dictates the condition for it to move on to the next step in the plan, which is usually going to be something like cost equals 0. And also, just FYI, most people do goal-oriented action planning in very different ways. Some have it as a cost where you have to get the cost to 0. Others have it as a number which has to equal a max, which has to go higher in order for that to become more important. For me, I done it return cost equals 0. It's just simpler because, well, I didn't do it return cost equals 0. I did it as cost needs to be lower, and then that becomes more important. Because then we can do return cost equals 0, or lower than 0 if you're being extra safe about things. And then that will automatically release actions. And if an action's released, then that means it moves on to the next. Which is, again, really good for the this. Because once you're done looking for the plane in a small radius, then the importance of that goal is no longer very important. And so the cost goes down. Well, the cost of that goal, you've done it, so there's no more cost to this. It goes to 0, and you do this, and then the cost goes to 0, and then you do this, and the cost of this never goes to 0. It always equals something. So yeah, the only difference from this to normal goal-oriented action planning, I would say, is you kind of have to dictate the plans in advance. Normally, in normal goal-oriented action planning, you don't have to do this. It will automatically find out which actions are suitable for which goals. Here I call them plans because there is a bit of planning to it if you're doing it on the step-by-step basis where you want something like this to be first, and then that second, and that third. But yeah, it works pretty much all ways. There's nothing much more to it. There is a lot of code to it, I will say. Specifically in this file, like these things are loaded with if statements and all that just to make them work actually realistic. And also in that function specifically, that has a lot of stuff. Like a lot. But in summary, actions are the lowest rung on the ladder, and they do everything. So they do everything. This is where you would put stuff for anything you want movement related. This is where you put stuff for anything you want to happen when the action ends, such as the stopping of firing a weapon. That could be pretty important to put there. And yeah. Then you got plans. Plans are collections of actions, and they dictate what action happens next. They can also send stuff to the goal driver, such as the total cost, so we know which plan is the best to run. And then the goal driver dictates using execute behavior which goal we should be oriented to. And also plans are basically just goals, but they're plans because you can do things in order if you really wanted to. Like, you set this to false, and then it's just doing everything in order. You can set it to true, and then it's doing it like proper normal goal-oriented action plan. If we do set this to true, though, it does make making the AIs a lot harder, because you have to make all the actions and think about how they all connect to each other. And if we set it to false, it just makes my life a little bit easier. It makes it a little bit more like, what's it called? A finite state machine. It's just a fancier finite state machine, I guess you could say. So this is the difference between whether it's like truly miraculous AI and if it's just better AI. This is where it all hangs. That if condition. No, that bool. And there's also this bool. Which can also be, this bool can also be set here, and then it will basically formulate that down to here. So if I change it here, it will change here. And then formulate current thing, the, what's it called? Execute behavior. It's also run here. Oh, and then there's something I haven't mentioned yet. We can also block the changing of any plan to another plan. You would never ever normally want to use that. You would never ever want to use that normally. But in case you perhaps do want to use that at one point for one thing or another, you can. It's there. If you really need to use it, you can. And that's pretty much everything with the goal driver. I'm not going to show you the code for it. I put a lot of work into this code. I'm not going to do the dumb thing or show that on video and have like a bunch of people copy me. That's only referenced once. thought that would have been referenced like 100 times at this point. Oh no, this for this is the plan. That's not the action. This is like referenced 100 times, I would imagine. Yeah, for the different eye behavior and stuff. And that's pretty much all of it, I would say. Oh, release plan also, yeah. It's the same as a release action. If something's released, then that means we can't interact with it. And if this returns true, then that means, yeah, like I said, we can't interact with it. And if a plan's released, same thing, we can't interact with that plan. This is great for if you need to block certain behavior from happening, and you don't want to put in the code for a bunch of cost manipulation. You could just use release and then force everything to release. That's everything so far. Next, I do plan on making more AIs, maybe using this type of goal-oriented action planning, maybe not. It really sorry for that, the mic cable came out. As I was saying, it really depends on how much easier it makes my life and on how much it's really worth it. It probably isn't going to be worth it that much, and it's probably not going to make my life any more easier. But who knows? I might be able to find some shortcuts and justify it. But these two AIs, any of their code will most likely not be used. Well, because they're very simple. I mean, we don't need them. They can't even fire weapons. They don't have the code for that. But yeah, that's in summary everything. Next, I do plan on making a health pickup. It's really simple. It's like one little object. I could do with another pickup, just because I have made this whole pickup system. Might as well put it to some use. And then I do plan on making like textures for the NPCs, as well as adding forms of navigation to the endless procedural generating world we have, because that doesn't have a form of generation. Well, nav mesh, and I need to add something for there to be a nav mesh generated for that. Because if we hang on, where is it? Level generation? No, it's in scenes, Carl. If we go to the main game, yeah, sure, you can say whatever you want. As you can see, there's no nav mesh here, and ignore that. Click on the games tab. That totally didn't happen. And as you can see here, there's also no nav mesh. Because it's all randomly generated, it's hard to define a nav mesh. I mean, there is one way I could do it. That way is I could just put a nav mesh on the prefabs, but as far as I can tell, Unity doesn't like that. It's expecting everything that has nav meshes on it to also, like, to exist in the game before runtime, I'm pretty sure. And that's why I'm pretty sure you can't move levels as well. Like, when you load a bunch of levels or a bunch of scenes into one collective scene at the same time, you can't move any of them around. I'm pretty sure it's because it will screw over Unity's nav mesh system. So, gotta find a workaround for this, and it will most likely be me creating some dynamic nav mesh. And for that, I probably only would have to create one around the player, because we don't really want AIs to move if they're not around the player. The player is the focus of everything after all. Makes sense that they be the thing to have the nav mesh. But yeah, that is the plan going forward. So in summary, make some NPC sprites. Probably just gonna find some off itch.io. then make an item power up, and then make Navmesh work here, and then make 3 NPCs for the 3 different types of weapons. And then we're effectively done, I guess you could say. I mean, there are still some things I want to do. I want to make this really cool system that will predict where you're gonna go and then spawn an NPC there. And I already know the fundamentals of how to do something like that. I've learned that kind of stuff before. So I know how to do it. I just need to do it. I picked up a power up by accident. But yeah, that's everything. Goodbye. I'm gonna go to the toilet. Shouldn't have said that while the thing was still recording. Oh well.